Hi, good evening, everyone. So let's start the discussion, which where we left from. A project manager's main job is to plan well, plan using scope, time, cost, quality, resource, communication, risk, procurement, stakeholder, and at the end, integration. In the phases of initiating planning, execution would be majorly done by your team. So your job would be to uh, monitor and control, which is the third phase. And then at the end, you have closure. So initiating would be done by the C-level executives. Normally, in an ideal scenario, yes, a project manager should be involved into the initiation phase. But if you recall in our last discussion, initiation phase is done by senior management, CEOs, CFOs, and CTOs. What they are doing is they are doing needs assessment, feasibility study, business case. Business case will tell them will give them a go or a no-go decision to start with the project, and then all these things need assessment, feasibility, and business case are captured in project charter, which is given to the project sponsor to sign off. And this also have a high level visibility of stakeholder register and risk register. I hope this is clear. So let's move ahead with the next slide. So, which projects are identified based on certain criteria? Major criteria is the revenue. Major criteria is return on money. So, as a business, whatever we are doing is doing for some level of doing through some level of investment, and expectation is return 2x, 3x, 4x, and this is known as IRR, internal rate of return. And then you have payback period. So just to explain this, so one of the criteria is IRR, which is known as internal rate of return. And second criteria is payback period. We also have criteria like mm, time value of money. So internal rate of return is how much rate of return you are getting. For example, you are investing 100,000 rupees now, and you are going to get just you know a very little variation of, let's say, 2% in 2 years. Is it worth investing or not? This is something, this is a calculation that you need to do. 100,000, return, let's say 10% in, you know 10 years or 8 years, project A. Then you have project B, 10% return here, and let's say 8% return in 7 years, which is quite close to each other. In that case, you need to do these kind of calculations, and based on that, you will select a project which has higher internal rate of return. Higher, I will write it like this: higher rate of return. Higher rate of return should be selected. Similarly, you have payback period. Payback period should be less. Whatever return you are getting, you should select a project which gives you return in less time. So it should be less. Then time value of money. The value of 100,000 rupees now will not be same after 5 years because value of money is constantly decreasing. This is known as time value of money. The formula is present value is equal to future value upon 1 plus r raised to power n, where PV is present value, FV is future value, R is rate of return, and N is number of periods. So these calculations are being done in order to select a project to start with. So this is extremely important. How are projects selected and categorized? One of the examples which I have just shared. Then second one is how many projects can run with existing resources. You have limited time, you have limited money, and you have limited human resource. So you need to see how many projects you can run simultaneously. It is extremely important. Meeting marketing policy using methods such as affordable breakdown structures, satisfying the return on sales, which is return on investment. So as a project manager, your job is to finalize or to consider these options before going ahead with the project or not. What do you think? As a how many projects will reach to the planning phase? I'll give you an example. So here we have initiating. Here we have initiation phase. Then comes planning. Then comes execution. MNC, which is monitoring and controlling, and then comes closure. Initiation phase artifacts are needs, needs assessment, feasibility study, business case, project charter, and stakeholder register. High level and high level risk register. After that comes the planning phase, which is the artifacts of this are requirements, documentation, scope statement, WBS, WBS dictionary, scope baseline, etc. etc. There are quite a few artifacts. We'll discuss them. Scope baseline, requirement documentation, scope statement, WBS, WBS dictionary, scope baseline, and then you have activity list, network diagram, activity resource requirement, etc. etc. There are quite a few artifacts. As and when we will cover the planning phase, we'll discuss that. What I'm trying to say is that there are uh, quite a few percentage of projects wherein we do in needs assessment, feasibility study done with a business case. And business case, you have to take a decision whether to go or no go. There are quite a few projects who end up here. So all the work done, time, money, resources are go waste because you realize that the business case is not feasible or is not suiting us. Is it important to do this study, and is it important to uh, invest on resources over here? Extremely important. Why? Because the level of investment you have done in these three steps, if you go ahead with the project, you have planning, execution, this done. So if needs assessment is not captured correctly, or if needs assessment and feasibility are not in your favor, your project will fail. And there are many projects wherein the need assessment is not done correctly, the feasibility was not captured correctly. They go on ahead with the projects, and at the end, they reached failure. They encountered failure. Examples. I'll give you an example of, if you recall, there was one phone known as BlackBerry. BlackBerry phone. Then you have Nokia. They did not capture the needs correctly. Need assessment was a failure. BlackBerry kept on busy with their BlackBerry iOS and approach. Nokia kept on working on their Windows and a whole lot of other things, while the world was moving ahead with Android, open source. So these are examples when need assessment was not done correctly, and they kept on working with the same approach or little bit of variations. So even if you manage your project correctly with the given scope, time, and cost, and you deliver the project successfully at the end, the whole the whole goal will be failure. Why? Because if it's a sales kind of project, your need was not captured correctly. You developed the Windows phone given the scope, given with the given scope on time within cost, but no one is going to buy these phones because everyone is moving towards Android. So in this case, as a project manager, you need to really ask what is the feasibility and what is the needs assessment, or rather ask these three questions: how the success looks like, second is how will you measure this success, and third, what factors are going to affect the success. These three questions are extremely important when you are discussing the success of a project. So let's say, I think it's not clear. Let me erase that and write again. SUCCE double S, success. how you define success definition, how will you measure, how will you define success, and what factors are going to affect this success. These three questions are extremely important for you as a project manager to ask, because maybe you are working on some kind of a project wherein feasibility was not done or needs assessment was not captured correctly. In that case, as I gave you an example of a Windows Phone, even if you have done the project, complete the project successfully within scope, time, and cost, the end goal will not reach because organization is failing because they have not captured the needs assessment correctly. I hope this point is clear. I'll go ahead and move with the next slide. Okay, project management given by Locke 2013. Project management has evolved to plan, coordinate, and control the complex and diverse activities of modern industrial, commercial, and management change and IT projects. Yes, the simplest definition of project management is that it is the successful execution of a defined scope of work within the required period of time, within the budgeted expenditure to the required quality. Exactly, because you have to meet the scope, and quality is captured in the scope itself. The purpose of project management is to foresee or predict as many of the dangers and problems as possible and to plan, organize, and control activities so that projects are completed successfully in spite of all the risks. Extremely important that you manage your risk well. Risks are of two types. What is risk? Anything which can affect your project. Let me explain. I think I have explained it earlier, but I won't mind repeating. Risk, anything which can affect, anything which can affect your project positively or negatively is known as risk. Positives are known as opportunities and negatives are known as threats. As a PM, your job is to maximize opportunities and minimize threats. Now, there are different techniques like you avoid something, you transfer something like insurance. Let's say there is a rush on one road from 7 to 8 p.m. You find an alternate route. You have completely avoided that route. This is avoid example transfer insurance. One day if person is fallen sick and they pay a certain premium to transfer that whole risk to an insurance party. Then you have mitigate. Mitigate is, for example, there's a traffic at 7 to 8. You try to leave a little early, or you try to go or select the timings a little late so that you face less traffic using the same route. This is mitigation. And then at last you have accept. You cannot do anything about it. You have to accept there is no alternate route. You cannot go a little early or little late. You have to stuck in traffic. You accepted that, accepted this fact, and the last is escalate. You wrote to the government, you wrote to the Department of Traffic, telling them some chaos at this road 7 to 8, and they manage the traffic well. There are some traffic police came to manage the traffic well. This is escalation. Now this is for negative risk, which is threat. For positive risk opportunities, the opposite of avoid is exploit. Exploit the opportunity. You know that there is less traffic from 5 to 6. Leave from office at 5 to 6 and rest work. You are you start working from home for a few hours after reaching. This is exploit. Way of maximizing opportunities. Then you have share. Opposite of transfer is share. You share it together. For example, two organizations come up as a joint venture to realize the maximum benefit and to become and to pose as a competition, or to pose as a big competition to other competitors. Share. They share the profits together. Mitigate. Opposite of mitigate is enhance. And the rest to remain same. You can't do anything about it. You accept, and if you can't do anything about it, but you escalated. I hope this is clear. Let's go back to the slides. Okay, project management as given by APM 2018. At its simplest level, the word project is used to describe activities that are done to meet specific objective for a change. Yes, true. Projects bring change to an organization, and projects are done to meet some business objective. Changes that are managed as products can be amendments to things that already exist, or the introduction of new things. Yes, like new features, etc. They can also be products. They can also be projects. Third is whatever the cause of the changes and the nature of the project, the principle of project management always imply. Yes. This has been the development of project management. Pre 1950s, we had industry specific custom and practice, but no formal processes. In 50s, we have processes developed for quantifying uncertainty, particularly in military R&D. In 1960s, PMI was founded. 70s, UK being founded. 80s, we saw controlling of large scale engineering and construction projects. 1990s, we saw standards, bodies of knowledge, etc. And development of project management continuation. 1990s through 2045. So here's the difference between projects and operations. Projects are defined as unique temporary endeavors with a specific beginning and end. Operations constitute an organization's ongoing repetitive activities such as accounting or production. While since all work and other efforts performed within an organization are characterized as either operations or projects, all of the costs of an organization must be distributed to either operations or projects. So let me explain this through an example. So when we start a project, we have project is unique, temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. This is project. And once project is done, closed, it is given to operations to run the show. So project and operations always meet at a closure of the project. Or let's say if this operations they want to do some cost saving, they want to do some kind of improvement in processes, or they want to do some kind of efficiency improvement, then this will come up as a new project. And then again, operations and project will intersect because this is a new project. So operations and project intersect A at the project closure here, or the start of a new project. Whenever a project is done, they give all the documents for sign off to operations for the regular operations until infinity. I hope this concept is clear. I'll go ahead with the next slide. General management responsible for managing status quo, consistent roles, responsibility across functions, innovations. Current issues in project management as given by Wheeler 2010 and Meredith. Linking projects with organization strategy goals. Extremely important. Linking projects with routine tasks. Dealing with uncertainty, which is risk. Over reliance on procedures. Improving effectiveness. Virtual projects and quasi projects. Quasi are more mostly R&D kind of projects. Artificial intelligence, importance of AI in project management. We all know how important it is. We have majorly these kind of projects which are civil, chemical, construction, manufacturing units, management projects, research projects. This is an example of mega projects. Okay, the four phases of project management is this. If you see, you are doing initiating, planning, execution is doing, monitoring and controlling, and then you have an outcome. This model is given by Bagley. Then we have another model which is like this: inputs, projects, constraints. Then we have mechanisms like capital is cost, scope, time, cost, quality, resource, communication, and then you get an output which is satisfied needs. Example: tangible product, tinning program completed. These are different models given by different people, but if we understand the one which we discussed in detail: initiating, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closure, you will find the close resemblance of this model with the other model. I discussed this that this is scope, time, and the cost triangle, and the performance of the project is quite interlinked with these three artifacts. This is iron triangle or triple constraint: scope, time. Quality is also cost because quality centers are defined in cost. As a project manager, your major job is to manage these constraints: scope, time, and cost. The time cost quality triangle underpins the assessment of project performance. Time is the required schedule for delivering the project. Cost is budget and resources. Scope is what you need to deliver and with what quality standards. So if you see in a pay, they are all closely interlinked. You have scope, time, cost, and then you have, related to that, you have image, reputation, risk, quality, value, etc. This is given by Kersner. Analyzing projects, unique impact on project management, novelty, how new is the product to customers and users, derivative, platform, breakthrough, technology, how much new technology is used, low tech, medium tech, complexity. We discussed how complex is the system and its subsystems. If it is a department oriented project, it will be small. If it is across departments, it will be a little big. But if it is across continents and stuff, it will be huge. Pace is about how critical is the time frame. There are quite a few projects which are, you know, first timers like moon landing. Then you have certain projects which are repetitive and you know how to do it and what to do. They are known as paint by numbers. For example, audit of a company. Then you have, based on technology, you have low tech, medium tech, high tech, complexity as well. Pace is time. You need, the project is time critical or not, fast, slow. For example, uh, invention of COVID vaccine was extremely time critical because we have 13 few days only to come up with a antidote. So based on these facts, the project is defined. This is a project complexity model. If you see, if it is a small or low risk project, it is known as independent. If it is moderately complex, it is certain, it has to meet certain numbers, and then large and more complex projects. Then comes strategic analysis, which is early stages of project specifications, feasibility, feasibility based on, so I'll explain that in a second. Technical, majorly, environmental, and political. You also have feasibility based on political, environmental, social, technological, legal, and environmental. This is known as feasibility. You need to capture the feasibility based on these factors. SWOT analysis is